Okay, looks like we're live. Hey everyone, welcome back to the North American Shorts program here at Fascination Film Festival. I'm here with Eakin, one of the directors for Perfect Restaurant. Yeah, yes. He's here from Toronto. And then we also have online, I'm going to see if I can remember everyone's name. We have Gurinder, who did the last film, Raising Lotus. And then we have Byung Lang, who did I'm gonna butcher this. Byung Lang, and then there's Shushu, and then there's Samantha, and then there's sorry, I don't have a list of the names in front of me, and I completely blank on who else is that. But all the filmmakers are here from all the films, and I'm gonna let everyone kind of introduce themselves first, and then we'll kind of get into the Q&A from there. So maybe we'll start with Eakin.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Aiken, and I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and I'm the director and creator of Perfect Restaurant, which was the first film that showed in the program.
Great. Maybe we'll go to Gurinder next.
Are you?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
hi, everyone. Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Gurinder Singh. I am the writer-director of Rising Lotus, which is the last film. I'm based out of New York. Actually, right now I'm in Paris, France, which is why I couldn't be there in person.
Right on. Thank you. And then maybe we'll go to the next person. We can just cycle through them.
Hi, my name is Shushu. I'm the director and creator of Nine Nine, or one of the co-directors. And then I'm based in North California in the Bay Area. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel. Thank you for hosting this event. I'm a director based in Los Angeles, and I'm right now in Vancouver because of some a flight issue. I can't get into the Calgary today. Yeah.
No problem.
Hey everyone, my name is Samantha. I'm and thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Elena. I'm from Vancouver, BC, and I did Macaroni Soup. It was my 2D animation grad film from school.
Right on.
Hey everyone, thanks for letting me speak here. I'm Sherwin. I'm based in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is southern New Mexico, basically. And I'm the director of photography, DP, and editor for Seahawk and the Thai Princess.
Right on. Welcome everybody. And so what I really loved about this package was there's just such a broad mix of genres and such broad mix of topics that we talked about. So I have a lot of questions, but maybe we can open it up to the questions from the audience first, and then we're gonna go from there. Any questions from the audience? Perfect. Here's our first one from Daniel. It says, I love Perfect Restaurant and I love your green shirt too. Was the story inspired by true events?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for the compliment on the shirt. Was it inspired by true events? Well, yeah, I would say Perfect Restaurant is like a semi-autobiographical movie about me and my family and my parents and the way they interact. There hasn't really been like a big sort of argument we've had leading to like throwing dishes on the table and like breaking things and like throwing food on the floor. But we have these like arguments like in our like home, but then sometimes it carries on into like when we're out eating. And I thought it would be interesting to share a bit of that like awkwardness, but also like the comedy of it, because like it is sort of funny when like your parents like get angry at each other for like no reason, misunderstanding each other, and I feel like sometimes it's up to their children or like myself to give a bit more perspective into that. So yeah, it was inspired by true events and my relationship that I have with my mom and my dad.
Amazing. Was the restaurant like concept?
Yeah,
Was it modeled
yeah.
after something in
Yes.
Toronto?
So the restaurant is actually like a 20-minute walk or like 5-minute drive away from where I live.
Yeah.
And the restaurant isn't called Perfect Restaurant. It's actually called Alton Towers Restaurant. And you should definitely go if you go to Toronto. Some great like food for a good price. And we've been eating there for like 10, 15 years. So
And where is it?
it is in Scarborough, Ontario,
Okay.
or Scarborough, Toronto, in Alton Towers Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever go, please check it out.
I definitely got like the Toronto vibe from the animation.
Yeah, from like the
Yeah.
plaza.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Like the TTC stops, if you saw that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right on. Cool. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Do we have another question? Perfect. This one's from Wilson about Nine. I'm wondering what's the intention from the switch between 2D and 3D? Great question. Great question.
Hi, Wilson. Thank you so much for your question. So the idea between 2D and 3D was that the 2D flashback scene, or all the flashback scene, were done in 2D. And since it was more, I guess, more violent and something that I felt as it couldn't really be portrayed as nicely in 3D, I might have been better done in 2D. We agreed that 2D would have been a better medium to show that portion of the film. So all the flashback were done in 2D, and we decided that all the present day events were more modern, could relate more to it in present day. So that's why it was done more in 3D. So that was like the switch between 2D and 3D.
Right on. That's great. My question would be what took more time, the 2D or the 3D?
I think both of them took quite a lot of time. I think the 2D portion definitely took a lot of time since it's all hand-drawn animation. But I think that 3D also took a lot of time since we had a lot of different board. And in order for all of them to kind of feel more consistent with each other, we had to go back into each shot and kind of soothing it out a little bit, so it felt more cohesive.
Right on. That's great. Max said, I loved each of the films. I would love to know the backstories of each of the films and what the ideas that came about. So maybe, I mean, you kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Talking about, the
I can explain a bit more. So I made this film as my graduation film from school, from Sheridan College. I was in the animation program at that school, and I've had this film idea for like many years, I think, and like I finally thought it was like the right time to make it, and I was thinking like, okay, like after I graduate, like I'll like this will be a nice like film, Perfect Restaurant, to like give to my like parents and be like, hey, like I might like leave now and like have to like find work, and I hope that even though I'm not here, you can both enjoy your time together and like find peace. And I think the creating process of that was really interesting too, because like when we wrote the script, my mother and my father were actually the voice actors.
Oh wow!
For the mother and father in the film. So like when I made them like read the script lines and record it, they were like, "Wow, like isn't this like a little much?" I'm like, "But like you sound like that sometimes, you know." So it's a good reflection of that. But like because of COVID and everything, now I'm actually still living at home with Markham and working from home and sort of taking care of my family and my parents. So it's come around in a really nice way.
Right on. Cool. Let's hear from Samantha.
Sorry, I was having technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, no worries. The question was like, how did the idea behind your film come about?
Oh yeah. So I was actually having a conversation with my brother about our time during. We grew up in Australia. About our time during school, and we were talking about how he was bullied really bad, and I wasn't as much as he was in his experience. So I have a bunch of friends. The night's young, and I went to them and I said, I really want to, tell a story talking about being biracial and being mixed in a very white area, growing up in a white school, and how that kind of affected us. And they were like, oh, well, let me connect you with Mandy, who ended up being our writer. And she was like, I have such similar experiences as you. And so we, instead of like talking about myself and my brother, we talked about joining us as sisters and going through both of our experiences. And that's kind of how Other was born.
Right on. Great. Thank you. Let's go to Sherwin.
Yeah. The writer director Mike Huang, he's from Singapore, and so I went to film school with him many years ago, and I moved to New Mexico and kept in touch with him, and he went back to Singapore. He saw photos of where I was at in New Mexico, white sands, the mountains, the desert, and it kind of inspired him to say, hey, let's do something together. And I sent him photos of different locations. He really liked the Roswell Alien Museum idea. That's not really close to us. It's probably like a few hours away. But so he wrote something based on all the photos that I sent. And then he flew here, all the talent. The lead, Tara, she's also from Singapore, so he brought her over, but everyone else is from the States here, and so that's
Wow.
the backstory for that.
So almost like an international collaboration.
Yeah, the composer, Singapore. We had some folks from LA come in, but yeah, it was a really international sort of project.
Very cool. Let's go to Elena.
Oh, yes. So my film was actually it was for my grad film. So technically I started thinking about the idea back in third year, and I was basically just thinking of ideas that I really liked, and I wanted to put it all together kind of like in a soup kind of way. So just putting in anything I liked, like food, Hong Kong culture, cute romances, cute art styles. Just wanted to throw it all together and make something that only I can make, I guess, and kind of tell a story that only I can tell. So that's how it kind of all formed together in that way.
Very cool. I feel like a lot of us identify with the trying to order in our in a restaurant and butchering it. So
Yes.
yeah, lots of feels there for sure. Yushu, how about you?
Yeah, so our film was also a grad film as well, and my co-director Minori is from Japan, and I'm born here in the States. And I think we wanted to create a film that touched on both Japan and Chinese culture. And I remember that one time my grandma was at my home and my sister brought her Japanese boyfriend to greet her. And I think something similar happened as in our film, where my grandma didn't exactly like my sister's boyfriend, but really didn't say anything. But there was like a lot of tenseness in the air. So that kind of became the backstory of our film.
Right on.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's go to Biang Liang.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. My film is a sci-fi film. Actually, it's inspired by many women I know who experience like really toxic and depressing in-law relationship and marriage life. So like I kind of just explore this topic like gender biases, patriarchy in like Asian cultural background. So I just want this this film to like let my audience kind of rethink about like what the bad thing rooted in the Asian family culture.
Cool. Very cool. And last but not least, Grinder.
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm a lawyer by day, but I've always had this passion for films, and this is actually my directorial debut. And so, I've always wanted to make films, and then the very first film that I wanted to make, I wanted to dedicate it to my mother and portray a very strong woman who who comes through some hard times, which is a bit. So I wouldn't say it's like a true story based on her life, but she's gone through a lot and come out, and I admire her a lot. And the other is during the pandemic. It was something that's where when I decided to start working on the film. And at that time, I was also going through a pretty toxic type of a relationship. And I've seen a lot of domestic violence in a lot of immigrant communities throughout childhood. Like I grew up with it. I saw it, I saw it firsthand in a lot of family and other relatives. And I know how hard it is to get out of it for a lot of different reasons. And so I wanted to touch on that. And during the pandemic, the domestic violence numbers skyrocketed. And so that's kind of where the inspiration came from. And so that's kind of the backstory.
Thank you for sharing that. So there's a couple questions here. We'll kind of circle back here. Wilson asked, perfect restaurant. Have you actually dined and dashed before?
So I don't think we have on purpose, but I think we did forget to pay once at that restaurant. And then like we called them and they were like, yeah, like we'll just put it on your bill next time. But yeah, like my family loves to like eat at the like same few restaurants every time. My mom's like picky about like, oh, like we want to like be friends with the like restaurant owners and whatever, right? So yeah, usually we have a pretty good relationship with like the places we like to go out and eat. Like my family's from Hong Kong, and they didn't eat very much. They didn't cook very much when they were living there. So that sort of carried on to when now that we're living in Toronto, and they immigrated from Hong Kong in 1998, and I was born here. But yeah, just in the way we eat, we do cook a lot at home, but whenever we have the chance, we'll go out to eat and get to know the community through their food.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's funny. Your mom sounds like my mom. Okay, so here's the next question. I love the cinematography in Other. I agree. It was beautifully shot. Samantha, has there been times where you had to confront racism, like how it was portrayed in the film?
Oh, 100%. A lot of this film was actually based off, like I said, Mandy and I's experiences, and we both had worked in bars and restaurants most of our life. And some of those conversations were actually verbatim to what people had said to us. Mandy specifically had gone through the person asking her about the ching chong chong thing and the envelopes. And I worked in restaurants where everyone kept asking, oh, well, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from here. And they were like, no, but where are you really from? And I'm like, I know what you're asking, but I feel like you're asking the wrong way. So it was that constant battle of like, I understand what you're doing, but there are better ways to ask this. So yes, a lot of that was 100% true.
Yeah, and I'm almost positive everyone on this panel would agree that we've all experienced some sort of racism or microaggression in that way in some form. And yeah, I think it's not limited, obviously, to just the bar and restaurant industry. I think it's kind of like it seeps in everywhere. So yeah, definitely. Next question, unrelated to the films, but now I'd like to know everyone's favorite food. Great question. Start with you.
Favorite food. I really like actually guloyo, which is in Cantonese. So that's like
sweet and
sour pork.
Yeah.
When it's crispy, it's so good.
Yeah. I'm gonna say macaroni soup only because after seeing Elena's film, I was like, oh man, I haven't had that soup in a long time, so I'm gonna have to go do that soon.
So honored, thank you.
But maybe Elena, how about you?
Oh, sure. Okay, contrary to my film's name, I actually don't like macaroni soup that much. I don't have it very often, that's why. But I would say one of my favorite foods is probably baked seafood rice. So in Cantonese, it's a fan or something. It's really good, and you get it at Hong Kong cafes. And shout out to Gloucester Cafe in Vancouver if you ever go there.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yes.
Let's go to Sherwin. How about you? What's your favorite food?
That's hard, but I'll just say today my favorite food would be pho. So a nice steaming bowl of pho. But I'm in like southern New Mexico where there are not that many of us around here, so it's hard to find that around here. But I have to go to like a different state to get some of that stuff. So
That's the quest, man. That's the quest. Always finding good pho.
yeah.
Samantha, how about you?
Favorite food is definitely this combination hot pot. It's tofu, chicken, beef, prawns in it. It was made by this restaurant that my parents religiously took us to as children. And we would always ask for extra soup in it because it was delicious. So when I go home to Australia, that's what I look for.
Right on. Bing Dang?
Hot pot for sure.
Great on. How about you, Gurinder?
So I'd say like Indian, I like Ragma Jal, but I actually like Taco Bell a lot. So it's a pretty bad, but
That's
I
allowed.
do. It's like, especially the Mexican pizza, which was discontinued for some time. So
That's awesome. And Shushu?
I think I go through phases. So, like, I don't know. Right now, I'm craving salad.
The most healthiest choice of it all. That's great. Great. Right on. Okay, moving on. We got a couple more questions. Macaroni soup. Is your film based on actual experience? Did you feel like you didn't belong growing up as an Asian in North America? Can you expand on how you felt and how it affected your sense of identity?
Oh, okay. It's pretty hard to say about macaroni soup and identity to me, because it was more about the other parts of, I don't know, like the kind of the romance bits in there, the subtle bits of it in my film. But I don't know if I felt like it didn't belong, but I felt like I missed out on a lot, especially learning the language of Cantonese. Even now, it's I have a lot of struggles with it. I learned for like 6 years when I was young, and I still forgot so much of it. And the only thing I remember is food, so that's why my film has so many food talks in it. And yeah, I don't know if I could say this was about finding my identity again when I was making this film, but it was more about reaffirming the things I knew. Sorry if it kind of doesn't make sense, but yeah, it's really hard to say.
Totally makes sense. Right on. Thank you. Okay, we got a question here for Seahawk and the Thai Princess. The movie was shot in a bunch of different places. What was the most unexpected thing that happened when filming?
Yeah. So I do want to make one comment. For like macaroni soup, I love the sai dosi and the sai
Yeah.
dosi. Like that was
Great.
great. I did
Thank
have to
you.
explain it to my wife, who's a halfie or biracial. She didn't understand it, but eventually I'll explain it. But
Thank you.
I told her like we ate it in Hong Kong. Like you loved it. Anyway, so the most unexpected thing, I guess, when we shot in Roswell, New Mexico, which was the whole alien museum thing, we had no idea what to expect. We weren't able to get into the location. We knew that it was a museum, so it was like open to people. We just didn't realize how busy it was. So we kind of had to push our shoot a little bit just because we would not have been able to film in there as they were, packed. As packed, it wasn't a huge museum, but there's still a lot of people. So we initially started shooting, and crowds gathered and started watching and talking and just kind of coming in. So we just kind of had to stop. So I guess that was sort of unexpected. We kind of expected a little bit of a hubbub because they don't really have too many things going on in Roswell, although people shoot in the Alien Museum quite a bit. But so that was one of the most unexpected things, but having to push our shoot just a little bit. But it was fun. The people there were really, really nice, really cool, helped facilitate everything. So thank you, Roswell International Alien Museum people.
I feel like I definitely want to go check that place out now. I love UFOs. I think that's cool.
That whole city is for you. Everything is everything is about that.
Right on. Okay, so we're gonna do one more question, and the question comes from Max, and it says it's for Gurinder, and the question is: Rising Lotus is your debut film. Are there any plans for what type or topic of film next?
yes, thanks for asking. Rising Lotus, as you saw, is a bit heavy of a film. So I'm actually working on a feature right now. It's a buddy comedy, so it's very different. and it also features a lot of diversity. So it's a South Asian and an African American, and there's a lot of different background actors in the film. And I'm working on one or two, two more that I'd like to shoot this summer, shorts, and those would be one. They're both a bit heavier topics. One is about just it's addressing grief in a certain unique way, and so those are a bit heavier. But so it's almost like I kind of oscillate between the comedy that I work on, and then a bit of the short film. But it's tough to work on something that's very heavy, and then I kind of switch over to the comedy.
Yeah, finding balance is probably pretty helpful. Yeah. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for their time. I want to do one last thing. I know there are a lot of people who are maybe watching this or have attended this, and some of them are maybe thinking. We were talking today about opportunities for Asian filmmakers in the industry, and all of us kind of being filmmakers, we all come from different walks of life, different experiences, different varied experiences and skill levels and all that kind of thing. I would love to go around and have everyone kind of give one word of encouragement to BIPOC filmmakers out there from your perspective, and maybe something that you've experienced that you can pass on that knowledge to other people. So maybe we'll start with, we're talking to Gurinder already. Maybe Gurinder, maybe you can start, and then we'll kind of go around and do a quick little touch point.
Gosh, I learned so much on this one. But I think it's also surrounding yourself with other people and kind of other BIPOC filmmakers, because getting that support for me, it was just immensely helpful. And I think if you can kind of reach out, find mentors that can help you, and then pass it on, pass it on to other people who are coming up as well. I think we just need to support one another.
Right on. Thank you. Shushu, how about yourself?
I think following up, joining some groups of diversity would also be helpful. I think that I definitely connected with a lot of other creators and other artists around the area, and it was nice just kind of hearing their stories as well.
For sure. Thank you. Sherwin?
Yeah, joining up with other filmmakers, other BIPOC filmmakers. I think also not being afraid of talking about the stories that you want to tell, and not necessarily thinking of how the audience would necessarily take it, or shaping your story so that you have a target demo or target demographic or an audience. It's just, telling a lot of these stories kind of came from personal experiences, right? So having the courage and the support behind you to say yes, tell that story, go and write it, or again, the group behind you supporting, but also having the courage to tell that story.
Right on. Elena?
I agree so much with what you just said, Sherwin, because I guess my advice would be, because I had a lot of profs in school who were really supportive, but they're also all white, so they kind of made advice that didn't really flesh with me as a Asian person. So I would say sometimes you just need to veto somebody's advice and just go with what your heart thinks and just tell the story that you want to tell. Just really good.
Right on. I like that. Samantha?
Yeah. Knowing that your stories are valid, I had a lot of imposter syndrome coming into this, thinking that I couldn't tell a biracial story. I had lived in both Singapore and Australia before I moved to America. And when I lived in Singapore, it was very much, you're the white girl from Australia. And when I lived, in Australia and America, they're like, oh, you're half Chinese. That's so crazy. And it's knowing that you have a voice in the middle of all that to tell your experiences, and trusting community around you. I was introduced to so many great biopic filmmakers to help me create this. And just have fun. It's about getting your message out there and your storytelling.
For sure. Bing Lang?
Yeah, I just want to echo on what Shervin just said, just finding the story around you and tell the simple but powerful story. It's the best way you can approach what you want to say, what you want to give to the audience.
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, you all have said everything I've already wanted to say. So I can also echo the fact that, surround yourself with people who, have a similar mindset and like the desire to make art and film. And if you're new, like just get started. Like, especially for animated films, like it's so easy nowadays to, start drawing on your computer or do 3D art in Blender. Or there's so many free programs, right? So just start and enjoy and try something out. And if it doesn't work the first time, you make another film, right? But I'd also like to add to also honor like the stories that have already came before you in terms of like Asian cinema and Asian like diasporic film, and like to not water down like the message and the ideas about like your heritage and like your identity in that, just to like make it more palatable for everyone. So I think that's an important thing to do for new young filmmakers. Yeah.
Thank you. So it sounds like connect with people with similar mindset. Don't be afraid, and eat lots of Asian food. So thank you again for everybody. Thank you to all the filmmakers that joined us today. Eakin's going to probably hang out here in Calgary for a bit. If there are any other questions, feel free to post them in the YouTube video. And, I'm sure if any of these filmmakers have time to answer them, they absolutely will. So thank you again. And thank you for checking out Fascination Film Festival. See you later.
Thank you.